Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's continue the end-to-end test of Pocket Goods application. Now we're going to focus on the authentication part of our application. Let's try to do the same thing that we have done earlier, to focus on the robot, then to go to the test cases later on. I'm going to create a new robot. I'm going to call it authentication robot. The first assertion that we have to make is we're going to assert that the user can authenticate. We have already under the mock data the correct email and password, and we can tap on the button login button to open the modal. For the identifier, from local keys, toolbar, login button, and we have to tap. Next, we're going to make sure that the modal is visible. We can check that the modal is visible by title of the modal. I'm going to name this title login modal title element by using on UI element for the identifier from local keys, login. We have done this under the modal section of our application. It is a static text. Now we need to make sure that this modal is visible by checking the visibility of this modal title element. And let's wait for its existence. We're going to insert some text to the email text field. The email text field is identified by local keys and email. All right, for the text, it is mock data and correct email. Likewise for the password, and we have to specify here the text field type, which is password. Next, we have to close the virtual keyboard by doing on keyboard return, and we have to tap on the button login. And this button is identified by login button. To tap on this particular button. Afterward, we have to make sure that this modal is not visible. Let's wait for the non-existence. 5 seconds will do. And we have to make sure that the user menu button is visible. Let's store it under user menu by using on UI elements, the identifier local keys, toolbar, login or toolbar, user menu, and for the trait, it is a button. And we have to make sure that this button is visible by doing assert true, user menu, and we have to wait for its existence. The next assertion, we need to make sure that the user can register. Let's tap on the button, toolbar login button to show the modal. Let's switch to the register form. For the accessibility identifier of this button is already registered, and you have to tap on it. Let's try to test the visibility of the password by tapping on the icon, and let's show the other password, which is the password confirmation. Next, we have to insert the text in the full name, email, password, and password confirmation. And we're going to close the virtual keyboard by doing on keyboard return. And we have to click on the button register, which is a progress button. The last assertion here, we need to make sure that we have the alert visible. And for the alert is identified by the text or the content of this text. Wait and assert, text exists from the local keys, registered, and for the arguments, which is the username. Let's wait for 5 seconds, and that's pretty much it for this implementation of can register. And from the previous Kotlin application or Jetpack Compose application, we need to make sure that the user can click on the wishlist menu item. First of all, we have to open the user menu. Next, we're going to look for the element wishlist menu item, my wishlist, which is a static text. Next, we're going to assert that this element exists under the tree, and we have to wait for its existence. If the element exists under the tree, we're going to tap on it. I need to make another assertion for the logout because we want to make sure that the user can log out from the application. Tap on the user menu, and we have to do here logout, and let's wait for the existence of this logout menu item. I'm gonna rename this to logout, copy this. Now we can click on this particular item. We need to make sure that the user is not authenticated. Assert is logged out. With the same manner that we have done earlier under the can authenticate, we have to wait for the non-existence of this element. And we're going to assert after the non-existence on UI element, to be honest, without UI element, on button, toolbar login button, exists, xct assert. I don't know, just going to wait for 0.5 seconds. Let's do here the assertion true that this element exists. Local keys and toolbar login content description. The last assertion is for the theme switch. First of all, we're going to get the parent container. Let's check the layout. Under the footer, we have done if it's on dark theme, it's gonna have this accessibility identifier. If it's on light theme, it's gonna have this accessibility identifier. And initially we are on the light theme, therefore the identifier is parent container in light theme. Next, we're going to make sure that this element exists. Then we're going to tap on the toggle button. But before that, we have to open basically the user menu. Let's look for this toggle button by using on UI element and for the identifier switch theme user menu. And we have to wait for its existence and we have to tap on it to toggle. And let's look for the parent container. And instead of light theme, it has to be dark theme. Then we're going to wait for the existence of this parent container. And that's all for the assert can switch theme. Now we can focus on the test cases under the end-to-end test. The authentication robot is ready to be used. As usual, I'm going to create here another end-to-end test, authentication end-to-end test. And for the first test case, we need to make sure that the user should be able to log in when providing correct credentials. You know the steps by now. We have to assert that the splash screen is no longer there. We have to assert that the page is ready. And we're going to assert can authenticate. All right, save the file and let's run the test. And the test passed, which is good. Let's run another test. The user can register with the same manner. Let's wait for the splash screen and do auth robot. Instead of assert can authenticate, we will do here assert can register. Save the file and run the test. And the test passed, which is good. Now for the test case, we're going to make sure that the user can log out after authenticating. As usual, let's wait for the splash screen. Next, we have to authenticate and we have to do assert can click on logout menu item and assert is logged out. All right, let's try to run the test. And it's not able to click on the logout button, which is good. Let's try to investigate. I cannot tap on this particular item. Let's come back to the user menu. In my opinion, adding this accessibility identifier to the parent container, it's going to make basically the whole thing unrecognizable under the test. I'm going to delete this and we have to use the button instead of the text. Come back to the authentication robot. Instead of this, I'm going to do here on button, the identifier, which is logout without localized. Let's run the test. And the test passed. Now, I would like to come back to the other assertion, which is for wishlist menu item. Instead of using the text, I'm going to do the same thing here. Gonna delete this, and I will use on button. Going to wait for its existence, and we have to tap on it. All right, to navigate to the wishlist manager. Now let's come back to the main end-to-end test, and we have to add another test case, which is basically the authenticated user can switch theme. Let's wait for the splash screen, and we have to use here the authentication robot. I'm going to assert that the user can authenticate and assert can switch theme. I would like to come back to this can assert can switch theme, and we have to see what we have done here. We have to check. Let's come back to the user menu. I don't think that we have done something wrong. We have to tap and we have to wait for the container to change the content description in dark theme. All right, I'm going to take the plunge and run the test. Yep. And the test passed. Thank God. And the last thing here under the end-to-end test is the wishlist. We're gonna create another robot for wishlist. Let's call it wishlist robot. And from the previous application, we can infer the needed assertions. The first assertion should be to add the product to wishlist. Let's name it asserts can add product to wishlist. First of all, let's arrange the product to be added from the mock data. Next, we have to look for the button, toggle wishlist button, that has the accessibility identifier from local keys, product, not in wishlist. Let's store it under this, toggle wishlist button. Why I have added here a variable? Because we have two states. The first one, the product not in wishlist, and the other state, product in wishlist. We can use on UI element for the identifier, as said before, from the local keys, product not in wishlist, localized. For the bundle, it's called UI bundle. And for the arguments, or the first argument should be product to add and title. And here for the accessibility trait is button. First things first, we have to assert that this toggle wishlist button exists and wait for its existence. Tap on it. Before tapping, you can add is hittable if you wanna make sure that this element is clickable. Next, you have two options. You can wait for the animation to finish, or you can just run directly the assertion. Now the new value of this variable toggle wishlist button will be the same thing, except for the accessibility identifier. Here it should be instead product in wishlist. With the same assertion, let's wait for its existence. 5 seconds will do in order to wait for the animation to finish. And that's all for the assertion. Can add product to wishlist. Now for the other way around, to remove the product from wishlist. Let's arrange the product to be removed. It's worth mentioning here, we're going to start by removing the product, then we're going to add the product. This is why in this particular assertion, I haven't looked for the element, the image, that we have to tap on it in order to bring this particular button, toggle wishlist button, to appear. Now we have to look for the image that we have to click on it. You have to scroll to this particular element. I'm gonna copy this scrollable container, gonna add it here, all right? Next, we're going to scroll until exists. The direction is up, and the target element, which has on UI element, it has this particular identifier, thumbnail. For the accessibility trait, it is none. Let's do here first match, just in case. I'm gonna store this actually in a variable or a value up here. I'm gonna call it image view to the target, image view and tap. This is gonna bring basically the toggle button to appear under the screen. With the same manner, I'm gonna create a variable that's gonna hold wishlist button view. We're going to assert that this element exists after waiting for 5 seconds, and we have to tap on it. Next, we're going to make sure that the product is no longer under the wishlist by changing the value of the variable toggle wishlist button. And we have to do here in the identifier, product not in wishlist. And let's wait for the existence of this wishlist button. And that's all for the assertion. As I said before, we're going to start with this assertion followed by this assertion. If you start with this assertion, then doing this kind of assertion, it's not gonna work because here we haven't triggered the button to appear yet under the screen. Because at the end of the day, this is the scenario that I want to test. Now we need to add another assertion dedicated to the wishlist manager. Let's call it can delete product, or assert can delete products from authenticated user wishlist. Let's arrange the product to be removed. We have to wait for the progress indicator to disappear by doing is page ready, or just to do here to look for the progress indicator and assert true while doing the wait for non-existence. Next, we need to make sure the button that we are looking for is the delete button. I'm going to add here basically the scrollable container. We're going to scroll to this element that has this accessibility identifier. Before that, I'm going to store it under, I'm going to copy this, open modal, delete modal, or something like this. For the identifier from local keys and the argument product to be removed, the ID and description. Here is button. For the target, it is open delete modal, and we have to tap on it. Now we have just to wait for the confirmation text to appear under the tree or to exist under the tree by doing wait text exists for the identifier confirmation, and we have to call localized. For the timeout, let's say, for example, 5 seconds. Now we have to look for the button that's going to allow the user or to allow us to delete this particular product from the wishlist. It's identified by remove from wishlist from the local keys. We're gonna do here on button because it is a button from local keys, remove from wishlist, and we have to tap on it. Afterward, we have to make sure that the product is no longer under the list by doing wait text does not exist, and the identifier, which is the text from the product to be removed, and the title. I think that's pretty much it for the wishlist robot. Let's focus on the end-to-end test for this particular section. As usual, going to create an end-to-end test for this. And the first scenario is we need to make sure that the authenticated user can toggle wishlist, includes removing and adding. As I said before, we have to start by removing the product and add the product. As usual, we have to wait for the splash screen to be invisible. We have to authenticate the user and remove and add the product to the wishlist. Let's remove the product from the wishlist and let's add the product to the wishlist. I think that's all. Let's run the test. It should authenticate the user and toggle. We have a problem somewhere. So basically we are not able to scroll to this particular section. All right, what we have done here is very wrong. We have provided the wrong content description, scrollable container, and we have to change it all over the code here as well. The same goes for the can delete products from authenticated user wishlist. Instead of local keys, it should be UI constant. Let's run the test. Because I have seen null under the product title, let's come back to the main view model, the implementation, on added, on removed, home route, yes, on toggle. Let's provide here empty string. The test works basically, want to make sure that under the snug bar message, there is no null indicated as the product title. So right now we are 100% sure that the user can toggle the wishlist on and off. Yeah, it works fine. The last scenario for this particular tutorial, I guess, the authenticated user should navigate to Wishlist Manager and delete the products from the wishlist. As usual, let's wait for the splash screen, authenticate the user, and we have to click on the menu item to navigate, and we have to use here the robot and assert can delete products from authenticated user wishlist under the manager. Save the file. It's gonna appear right here, and let's run the test. If everything is working fine, as I said before, I'm gonna come back to the test, just the implementation of the assertion. I'm going to make sure that on button works. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna keep it on UI element. Yeah, for some reason, I have seen the warning message appear briefly on the screen. Shouldn't happen. The test passed, but we have something wrong under the layout. So instead of this, I'm gonna use on button. Same for this particular section. Same here. Same here. For the non-existence of this particular text, let's come back to the Wishlist Manager screen. And I want to make sure this particular text is not visible. All right, After this, we're going to do xct assert UI element, which has this kind of identifier, static text does not exist, and run the test. Yes, it works using on button. Now let's try the other test, and most likely it's gonna fail because I have seen the warning message appear briefly under the screen. As I said before, it's gonna fail, and it should fail because we have seen the text briefly, which means that we haven't implemented the delay of the warning message correctly as expected. Let's come back to the wishlist manager screen, and we have to change basically this implementation that we have done under the how to delay the warning message. We are showing this warning message according to show empty message, but we have a brief aperture of the warning message under our screen. Let's add another condition here. The wishlist should be empty. On appear, we have to toggle show empty message to true after a deadline. And we have to do basically the same thing here. I guess that the problem is within onChange. Instead of doing is empty, I'm going to move this particular section. The whole thing should be delayed, not only for when the new wishlist is empty. I think that will do, in my opinion. Let's run the test. All right, running the application. Authenticating the user. Now it should navigate to the wishlist manager screen. So far, so good. And the test passed. Basically, that's it. We have done it right, guys. So just to recap, we have to add this condition. And basically, instead of delaying the only whenever the new wishlist is empty, we have to delay the whole thing. But the caveat here is the deadline. The deadline should be greater than the real delay. What I mean with that is the time of the request that should take should be less than the amount of the delay under this deadline. If the network request is going to take more than 1 second, it's going to appear. This solution won't work. But I don't know, for most cases it's going to work. For the record, we have finished the application and we have finished the tutorial and we have done all the end-to-end tests. Just for improvements, we're going to fix some stuff here and there. As I said before, we have to go back to the product search results screen and you have to do basically the same thing that we have done here. We have to delay the aperture of the warning message. Before moving forward, actually, I would like to make this whole thing a delayable component and animated, of course. All right, what I propose and what I suggest under the core UI, under the component, I'm gonna create a new file from template. I'm gonna call it animatable delayable. Let's make it public first of all. And I'm going to copy the logic of this particular section. I'm going to paste it here. We can infer from this section the things that should be hoisted. First of all, I'm going to add a state that's going to control the visibility of this component. And we have to make it generic by adding here the content, or the main content, if you will, of type view. And let's add the content here. And instead of this, it should show. For the value, it should show. And should show same here and same here, all right? Now, I don't want to hard code basically the deadline. Therefore, I'm going to add another property for this animatable delayable view. And I will add basically the public initializer. All we have to do right now is to specify the condition. I'm going to hoist this property as well. Let's add it in the initializer. Instead of this, it should be condition. Now, instead of hard coding the content, I'm gonna delete the whole section until the shadow. All right, I'm gonna put here the content. All right, so whatever content we're gonna put here, it's gonna be animatable and delayable. And let's add here deadline, same here. Instead of this old condition, we have to add the condition that we have declared as a property, same here. And instead of calling here new wishlist, let's do new condition. Let's add it here. And that's all for the components. Let's go ahead and define a simple preview for this. The same thing that we have done under application, a list and a loading indicator, and to delete the item from the list. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to simulate basically the screen by adding a Z-stack and the progress indicator, and of course the content of our page. When this Z-stack appears, what we have to do, we're going to load basically some data, or to assign some data to the list. First of all is loading to true, and after a certain deadline, we're going to assign the data to the list by using dispatch queue, main, and async after. And afterward, we're going to set is loading to false. Let's use here the scroll view and place the content of our page after is loading, a title for this page. And I will show the list of items by using for each. For this item, it should be represented as a horizontal sequence. I'm gonna put the text as well as the button to delete this particular item. For the first element, which is text, add a spacer between, and we'll add a clickable image. Whenever we click on this particular image, we're going to delete the item. Basically, we have to delay this operation, and we're going to just filter according to the current item or the current text. We're going to assign the new list. Now, for the placement of the animatable delayable, we're going to put it underneath the title, my items. For the condition, list is empty. Whenever the list is empty, we're going to show this warning message. It's the same warning message that we have done earlier. If your preview is not visible, under editor, click on canvas. I'm going to refresh the preview. If it's working fine, we're going to replace that section under wishlist manager screen with the new animatable delayable component that we have just implemented. After finishing the optimization, I would like to run the end-to-end test under a real device. In the H stack, I'm gonna add a small padding horizontally. Right, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and let's click on this icon, or let's click on this button. All right. And after the deadline, which is the default one that we have set to 0.1, it's going to show this. As I said before, we have a caveat right here. If the request of whatever request you are doing under your logic is greater than this deadline, the problem will still occur. The deadline should always be greater than the duration of the process. Whatever your process is, loading the data, doing some crazy calculation, the most important thing here is the deadline should be always greater than the process duration. Let's use it first under the wishlist manager screen, and let's run the end-to-end test to make sure that we have done things correctly. Let's replace this logic with the animatable delayable. Let's copy this condition. And for the content, as I said before, just gonna take this section and let's delete the rest. I'm gonna paste the warning message, and I will delete should show empty message. Let's run the end-to-end test and check once again. I think that we have to do here the deadline now plus 1 second, as we have done earlier. All right. I'm going to run again the end-to-end test. All right, that's good. You can add test cases if you will, but basically we are done with the application. Now it's time to make the improvements. Let's go to the search results screen. So I'm going to copy this. Gonna delete this section. And here I'm going to add the animatable delayable. And let's set the deadline to 1 second. If the result is not empty, we're going to show this grid layout. I think that's all. I would like to come back to the splash screen. Just make sure to check this one, use as launch screen. And I think we have to serve the splash screen logo from the main bundle. Therefore, I'm going to add an image set. I'm going to call it splash logo. That's going to be served as the logo of the splash screen. You can find those PNG files under the GitHub repository, under the final section of this tutorial. In this splash screen logo, it should be splash screen logo. All right. To make sure that this splash screen is correctly set, under the info, it should be visible here. Launch screen interface file base name, it should be set to splash screen. All right. I would like to fix something under the layout that I have noticed. We have hard-coded basically this particular value, which is the minimum content height of the main section. In my opinion, I guess that we're going to do it dynamically by using UI screen. Let's take only 45% of the screen height. And in your warning messages, for example, products search result screen, you have two options basically. The first one is to set this at the center of the screen, or you can set it at the top of the screen. It's up to you. If it's not appealing or you don't like basically at the center, you can do here top instead of center. I think that's all for the improvements so far. I'm going to do the same thing that we have done under the Jetpack Compose application. We're going to run the end-to-end test under real device, and we will try to run the application normally with the real API calls to see how the application look like. I'm gonna switch to my phone and let's run all the tests at once. Let's start from the first one, which is main end-to-end test. Let's go. We are checking the test authenticated user can switch theme. The first test passed. Now for the test, can navigate to product detail screen. And it passed. For the third one, which is home screen should have the list of products. It's going to navigate, it's going to scroll basically and to check if we have the correct product under the home screen. And the test passed. And for the last one, which is for the splash screen, should be invisible when done loading. And all specs pass with green flying color. Let's make sure this test pass for the product detail screen. Let's go. After this, we're going to run, as I said before, the application with real API calls. All right. And test passed. Next, we're going to do here the product search end-to-end test. Let's go. And the test passed. Now we have to see the warning message. Now it has to make sure that we have the correct suggestions. It's not going to scroll basically, but the elements exist under the tree. All tests passed. The last end-to-end test, which is for authentication. We have a test that fails. We're going to see why. Run again the authentication end-to-end test. The others will pass. And congratulations, all the end-to-end tests that we have implemented so far pass with green flying color. Now the application is not flawless by any means, but I suggest if you do notice some bug, create for it an end-to-end test and try to resolve it accordingly. Now I'm going to run the application and let's interact with it with real API calls. Splash screen. All right, let's log in. I have created an account for this purpose. Here's the password. I'm going to log in. All right. Let's check if we have some wish list. There is no items. I'm gonna add this product. You can see here the animation. Let's click on this. We can remove or add this product to the wish list, which is good. And this is the carousel that we have implemented earlier or before. Let's go to the wishlist manager screen. I would like to switch first of all the theme. Going to navigate to wishlist manager screen. Let's delete headphones. We have the confirmation modal. I'm gonna click on delete. As you can see here, the aperture of the warning message is not present. I'm gonna click on, let's delete this particular item. All right, and we have to see the warning message. Now under the product search result, let's check if we have solved the problem. Click on the magnify icon, and we don't have basically the warning message. As I said before, we have a caveat here. The deadline should be greater than the amount of the time that's gonna take the request to complete. In our case, which is the request or the network request. And let's close the, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna navigate. Okay, first of all, I'm going to add some products to the wish list. I'm gonna navigate to the wish list screen, and I will close the application. Normally, you have to navigate to the wishlist manager screen. Here we go. That's good. I'm going to log out. Now, one thing that we have to do here, which is very important, is we need to navigate to the home screen. We haven't studied this case before. I think that we have to do it as a improvement for our application. All right, just before ending the video, let's address that issue. Whenever we are on the private routes, we have to navigate to the home screen after the user has logged out. It's very simple, actually. We have to come back to the header section. Under on logout, we have to do here a simple check. Let's store the current destination from the router, current destination, and this current destination should be private. If it is private, we're going to navigate to home screen. As simple as this. Let's run the application. We're going just to do here a manual test, if you will. Let's run the app. As you can see here, we are right now under the unauthenticated. Let's log in. For the first, okay, I'm going to navigate to my wishlist. First, I have to navigate to a public route. For example, the search results screen. This is a public route. Let's log out. It shouldn't navigate to the home screen, which is good. I'm going to log in again. Now I'm going to navigate to the private route, my wishlist, and I have to click on logout. It should bring me back to the home screen, which is good. And that's going to conclude this application. Now, when it comes to our project, we have used dependency injection seamlessly, and we have implemented integration and end-to-end testing, ensuring robust and reliable application. One notable takeaway is that SwiftUI currently lacks certain APIs, such as the ability to scroll to a specific element within the scrollable container, which is very bad. They have to offer this right off the bat. It has to be implemented beforehand. Instead of implementing a workaround and reinventing the wheel, we need something similar to what Jetpack Compose offers. However, SwiftUI excels in its intuitive and declarative approach, and its ecosystem is very streamlined, reducing the need for extensive dependencies. In essence, Jetpack Compose and Android development in general requires a lot of dependencies. By far, Swift and SwiftUI is my favorite. And be prepared for the next one, which is the last section of our tutorial. We're going to build the software version of Pocket Goods under WPF and Windows ecosystem. So be prepared for the insanity and be prepared for foolishness under WPF and C#. So see you in the next section, Windows version of Pocket Goods. Happy coding!